Guess who's back?
We're back. Joe's Productions for you. Still cranking out videos. Trying to get you ready for life, APUSH, just studying for the fun of it. Today we're going to break down the long essay question for the Redesigned AP US History exam. It's going to be rough, it's going to be tough, but we got your back. Thanks for checking out another video, and let's just get into this. One thing you need to realize, there's been a lot of people that have taken APUSH over the years. In fact, what most people don't know is this famous photo of John Brown is actually of him pledging to pass AP US History. So what do you need to do to pass the long essay question in APUSH? Well, let's take a look at what it wants you to do.
It's the questions. It's the questions, boy. It's the questions. It's the questions. Come on. The questions. It's the questions, boy. It's the questions.
In this question, in this part of the APUSH exam, you're going to have a choice between two questions. Everyone likes choice. You're only going to select one. And of course, I hope it's obvious, but you select the one that could show how awesome you are and how much you know. So pick the one you feel most comfortable with. In these questions, you're going to have to focus on a particular historical thinking skill, or HTS as they say on the streets. You're going to get 35 minutes to write one long essay question, only one, and it's going to be 15% of your total APUSH score. So it's an important piece, but we got your back, and it's going to be stressful. In fact, what most people don't know is this is John Brown after taking APUSH. It had nothing to do with his fight against slavery. Now, what are they going to be looking for this long essay exam? Well, there's kind of 4 parts to the rubric, and they break down as follows. And we're going to take a look at each one of these in details, but this is kind of the overview. 1, your thesis. Do you have a thesis? Is it a good thesis? Does it address all parts of the question? We'll come back to that. Your use of evidence is the second thing they're going to be looking for. Does it clearly connect to what you're trying to argue? The third thing is the historical thinking skills, HTS, and each question will address one of these: causation, comparison, continuity and change over time, or periodization. And then the last thing is synthesis. You know, how do you put this whole thing together? Why does it matter? And you connect it to something bigger or broader in history. So those are the 4 areas, and one of the things you need to keep in mind is this face. This is the face that Denzel Washington, your AP US History teacher, and anybody else who looks at your long essay question is going to give you if you write an APUSH essay, DBQ, or long essay without evidence to support your thesis statement. You need that. That's why you're learning all these historical events. They're not random events. They connect to broader arguments and interpretations about history. Now, how do you avoid getting that face? How do you avoid your teacher giving you that face? And it really comes down to trying your best to get the top score of 6.
6.
6?
My favorite number is 6.
And that's the top score for the long essay rubric. You can get 6 points total, and you want to get as close as you can to 6 because 15% of your APUSH exam score is based upon the long essay. Now, first thing you can do to get on the road to getting a 6 is, of course, the same thing in any essay writing, which is have an awesome thesis.
To that I say, all right, all right, all right.
Everybody you know that knows about essays, they talk about your thesis. So you can get up to 1 point on your thesis statement, and in order to do that, you need to clearly, directly address all parts of the question. You can't just restate the question. So many students just kind of rewrite the prompt. You can't do that. You need to take a position or a judgment, and throughout your essay, you're going to use evidence to prove that statement or judgment. The question may ask you to support or modify or refute a stance in history, and a great response can take a position, but also recognize that there are gray areas in history, that history oftentimes is not clear-cut. And in your essay, you can recognize contrary evidence, but your position should be defended to the best of your ability. So to get that 1 point, you need to directly address all parts of the question. If it breaks it down into 3 different categories, make sure you hit all 3 categories. If there's more than one question in the prompt, make sure you cover both. So the thesis point is so key. It's the start of your essay, and you better make sure you get it. And of course, your thesis is only as good as your evidence.
What can you prove, huh? Nothing. Where's your evidence, huh?
It's right there.
And part B of the rubric is your support for your argument, and you can get anywhere between 0 and 2 points. Now, if you take a look at that 1-point column, you can get 1 point if you support the stated thesis using specific evidence. So if you're giving evidence, some events from history, and you're interpreting them and you're connecting it back to your thesis, you're going to get a point. But we're not here to get a point. We're going for the 2. And to get the 2, you need to clearly and consistently state how the evidence supports the thesis throughout your essay and establish clear links between the evidence and the thesis or argument. So you really need to make sure that you give strong evidence. You analyze. You don't just describe that evidence, and you bring it back to what the thesis is all about. That's 2 points right there. You have a strong thesis and strong use of support, historical evidence, you got 3 already. That's half of 6. Look at that mathematics right there. Remember Denzel.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Yeah.
This is so key. We want specific historical evidence that clearly and consistently supports the thesis. You need to prove your argument. You may know all sorts of things, but you only got 35 minutes to put that down on paper so that you can make your case. So please make sure you do exactly that. That's part A and part B of the rubric for the long essay exam. Part C, now it's time to show off your skills.
Skills.
Application of targeted historical thinking skills, you can get up to 2 points on this section of the rubric. And the thing about it is, each long essay is going to have one of the following historical thinking skills. HTS! And these could be causation, change in continuity over time, comparison, and periodization. Those are what they're going to use to see, do you really know how to think about history in a deep, complex type of way? Now I want to show you kind of some sample questions. So they're not the best, they're not perfect, but kind of give you an idea of what these different historical thinking skills questions may look like. So I picked some from part 2 of the framework. So causation, evaluate how the French and Indian War, or the 7 Years' War as it was called in Europe, impacted the relationship between Great Britain and the British colonies from 1754 to 1776. So you would have to show causation in this one, like why things happened, what happened to change the relationship. You need to pay attention to time frames. They're giving you specific dates. You need to look at that and the causes of it. We'll come back to causation in a minute. Changing continuity over time. Identify and analyze the changing relationship between England and the British colonies between the years 1607, the settlement of Jamestown, to 1763, the end of the French and Indian War. So this one kind of makes you think, how the relationship had changed and remained the same over a long period of time. Comparison. Compare and contrast the colonies in the Chesapeake with the New England colonies. Be sure to address 2 of the 3 areas in your essay: economic, political, and social. So this one you're going to have to say what's similar, what's different. And you're going to have to pick 2 of those categories to demonstrate your ability to analyze comparison. And then finally, periodization. Evaluate the extent to which the French and Indian War was a turning point in American history. So historians put things in different kind of categories or labels or time frames. How was this war a turning point? So this rubric for section C is kind of complicated because it gives you 4 different sections. Max points is 2, but it all depends on what they're asking you. So let me kind of break it down for you in a simple level, and that is, if the question concerns continuity and change over time, you can get a point if you describe historical continuity and change. But the thing is, we're not here to get a point. We're here to transform our lives by getting a full score. So we want that 2 point. And that's how you do it. You not only describe it, but you analyze specific examples that illustrate historical continuity and change over time. You're showing throughout your essay that you could recognize patterns of change, and you're able to analyze them and evaluate them and really kind of show, perhaps you're going to say, was it more change or was it more continuity? You're able to really look at long periods of history and make these really good interpretations. So you can get the 1, you can get the 2, you can get 0, depending upon your ability to show proficiency. If the question is concerning comparison, you can get 1 point if you describe similarities and differences among historical developments, or if you not only describe them, but provide specific examples and analyze the reasons for why things are similar and different, you can get 2 points. And in some cases, depending upon the prompt, you may need to evaluate the relative significance of the historical development. So once again, the more points are reserved for those people that are going deeper and really analyzing reasons and things of that nature. So that's comparison. Then you have causation. You can get a point if you describe causes and or effects of a historical development. But that's basic. We want 2. So why don't you analyze specific examples that illustrate causes and or effects of a historical development? So in this case, you're really kind of looking at it. You're breaking down long-term and short-term causes. You're really showing your ability to think historically. And you're identifying and analyzing and evaluating multiple causes and effects in a historical situation. So this is causation. 2 points is the max. And of course, the last one, periodization, you can get a point if you describe the ways in which the historical development specified in the prompt was different from or similar to developments that preceded or followed. So you can kind of look at it if you describe things, but once again, we're going for 2. And if you analyze the extent and you give specific examples to illustrate your analysis, you're going to move into that 2 point range. So in each one of these historical thinking skills, I hope you realize that the more analysis and specific historical examples you give to support your thesis, the greater the likelihood is you're going to get the full 2 points for this section of the rubric, which leads us to the last section, part D. You put it all together.
Cyber sexy Wendy.
You can get 1 point for synthesis, and there's a lot of different ways. There's actually 4 different ways you can get that extra point. So to get that point, you can extend or modify the stated thesis, kind of recognizing complexity, bringing in a different interpretation, but nonetheless still supporting yours. You can bring in an additional category that goes beyond the prompt. If it asks you to look at economic and social, but then you analyze political. If it asks you to analyze the North and the South, but you kind of look at the West. If you bring in an additional category of analysis, you can get an additional point. The third column, if you connect it to historical time periods, another historical time period, or a geographic area, or a circumstance, you can get a point. And the fourth column is if you bring your analysis and you connect it to different fields, different disciplines, perhaps world history, European history, or something of that sort, you can also get the point. So synthesis, there's a lot of room here. It doesn't have to take place at the end of your essay. It's really kind of open as long as you demonstrate one of these 4 areas. You're really kind of connecting ideas and events, and you're really kind of bringing it into a more complex understanding. So that's the long essay question, ladies and gentlemen. So I have a challenge for you. There's all these challenges on the internet. If this video helped you out, if you liked it at all, I want you to post a photo of yourself doing the legendary Hulk Hogan pose in front of an American flag and post it to Twitter. Make sure you put @Jocz Productions and hashtag Jocz, J-O-C-Z, hashtag APUSH, and we're going to start a trend where APUSHers around the world are going to be doing the Hulk Hogan to show our love for APUS history and hopefully a little love my way. And once again, if you found the video helpful, hit the little thumbs up, give me some props there, post a comment, and tell your friends. You should do it yourself. If you want to get a 5 on that AP US History exam, because I subscribe to Joe's Productions, I got 5 on the AP US History exam. I got 5 on it. Damn, the rap game is better be nervous because I'm coming for you. Thanks for watching. Peace.